Do you want to take your data management abilities to the next level? Or you want to improve your competence and effectiveness as far as data analysis is concerned? Or you are even a beginner wanting to know how you can use data effectively to perform these activities in your line of research work? Well, in today's video, I'm going to show you how you can use data to perform these activities easily. Specifically, I'm going to give you the commands that you can use to merge or append datasets or even collapse datasets found at the individual level to the household level. Finally, I'm going to show you how you can use data to convert a continuous variable into a categorical variable through recoding. Without wasting my time, I want you to follow me to the class and see what I have for you. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to first of all start by taking you to the folder where I have my data set for today's tutorial. And inside the folder, I have 3 different kinds of data sets. And so I'm going to open the second one, which is named Zone A data set. Okay, so inside the Zone A data set, as you can see, these are the variables I have, and these are the variable label or the brief description given to each and every one of them. So to begin, I'm going to first of all describe the data set just to have a fair idea of what each variable in the data set actually stands for. And so I do that by typing the command describe, and then I press my enter key. So this is what I have. Okay, this is what I have. It is telling me that the UID variable is actually the household unique ID. The zone stands for zone A, and then the input val actually stands for total value of input used by each household. Okay, this is the overall information, as far as the data set is concerned. This is the overall information. And a key thing I want you to take note of is this part. It is telling me that in this particular data set, or as far as this data set is concerned, this is the total number of observations. We have 2,227 observations in this particular data set. And so if you come here, you can also see it down here, the lower right corner of the software. So that is 2,227. Okay, now I want to first of all begin today's tutorial by demonstrating how to append data sets. Okay, how to append data sets, or how to append different data sets in Stata. And so to do that, the first thing you need to take note of is that the variables in these different data sets that you want to put together via appending must have the same variables. Okay, and so I want to append this data set, which is zone A, with the zone B data set, and therefore to be sure that the variables in zone A are also the variables contained in data set zone B, I'm gonna now open the zone B data set, also just to confirm that I have the same variables as I see here in that data set. And to do that, I am lucky to have these 2 data sets in the same folder, so I just copy this file path, okay, and then I paste it here. I only have to change the A to B because I'm using the zone B data set. I want to call in the zone B data set, and so I bring comma and clear. What this clear means is that I want Stata to clear zone A dataset from its memory and then open the zone B dataset for me. Okay, so I press my enter key, and as you can see, the same variables as we saw in zone A dataset also contained in zone B dataset. So let me briefly describe that as well, and I do that by typing the command describe once again, and I press my enter key. So just as you can see, this is for the zone A and this is for zone B. You can see that UID is contained here with the same variable label. Again, zone is also contained here. The only difference is that this is zone A, indicating that this particular data set was collected in a location called zone A, and this is collected in a location called zone B. However, again, input val, as we saw in data set zone A, is also contained in zone B, and they have the same variable label. Okay, again, take note of this part, which is the general information about the data set. In terms of observation, here we have 2,624 as compared to the zone A, where we had 2,227. Okay, in data management or in data analysis, the essence of appending data set is to put observations together. So when I successfully, or when I complete appending these two data sets, you will see that the resulting data set will actually contain a data set that, you know, has the observation to be the sum of these two. Okay, so take note of these two observations. This is 2,227 as far as zone A is concerned, and this is 2,624 as far as zone B is concerned. Okay, again, whenever you are combining data sets, okay, the data set you are working within, or you have already opened and you are working within, is called the master data set, and the one you want to append to what you are working with is called the using data set. So you have to get the difference. Now I want to use zone A as my master data set, so I will switch back to zone A data set, just as we were working from initially. And so again, I do that by copying this and then paste it here. Remember, I said I'm just copying the file path because they happen to be in the same folder called tutorial, and therefore the file paths are the same. I only need to change or modify the name of the data set. And so I have here, instead of B, I change it to A. Then I press my enter key. So I switch back to, as you can see, the data set zone A. You can also see at the top here, data set zone A. Okay, so now this is my master data set, and my using data set is the zone B. So to append, I achieve that by issuing the command append using. So using means that I'm going to call in the zone B data set because that is my using data set. So I pick this part, okay, and then paste it here. That's all. Then from there, I press my enter key. Successfully done. So just as you see here, label zone already defined implies that in my master data set, zone is labeled or described as zone A, whilst in my using data set it is described as zone B, just as you see here. And so for Stata to maintain, you know, that of the zone A, it has to give me this information just to notify me that it is already defined in my master data set, which is the zone A. But I'm cool with that. I'm okay with that. Now let's see this one in the spreadsheet that contains details of each of the variables we have in the data set. So I do that by typing ed, which is the short form of the command edit. You can also use browse or shorten it by using br. So I press my enter key, and this is what I have. Okay, so you see that the first part is zone A. I go, if I scroll down, I'm going to see zone B also appearing. If I scroll now, you can see that you see. So the two of them have actually been combined via appending. Okay, so we have added the two observations together. Let's confirm. Remember, I drew your attention, or I notified you that take note of this. In zone A, we were having total observation of 2,227, and we're having total observation of 2,624 in zone B. And I told you that after appending, the resulting data set is going to be the sum of these two total observations. And so let's see. We test that by counting using the command count, and this is what we have. Okay, so it means that the two data sets have successfully been, you know, combined by appending them or by putting them together. So that is what we have over here. Okay, so that is how you do appending in dataset. Remember, I told that the essence of combining two datasets in Stata by appending is to put observations in different data files together. So that is the essence of appending dataset. Okay, I'm going to proceed by first of all computing the total quantity or value of input used by each household. Okay, at the moment, if you check duplicate report UID, so here the essence of the unique ID is to perform some of these activities as well as the merging that I'm going to proceed to. And if I do that, you see I have some duplicates. So what this is telling me is that it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with the data set. What this one means is that this data set is actually at the individual level, but I want it to be at the household level. Okay, I want it to be at the household level. And so to bring it to the household level, I have to make sure that this variable of interest, which is the input value, I calculate or I convert it to the total quantity used by household and not by individual members of the household. And to do that, I use the command collapse. So I collapse it to the household level. And to achieve that, as I said, I use the command collapse. And then I say sum. Here I am using sum because I am interested in the total value of input used by each household. Okay, if I were to be interested in the average amount of value of input used by each household, then I would have changed this option to be mean. But I am interested in the total, so I say sum. Then which variable do I want to compute the total for each household? It is the input value. Okay, the input variable. And so this is what I have. Then households are represented by unique IDs. So I say by household unique ID. So that is UID. Okay, I don't type this. This is the description. I use the name. Okay, so now that I have this, I press enter. Again, it is also done. And so you will see that when I finish doing that, the total number of observation will be reduced, because this one implies that we're having the data set at the individual level. But now I have converted the data set to the household level by collapsing the variable of interest, which is the input value variable. Okay, so just to confirm that I have actually achieved the purpose of converting the data set from the individual level to the household level, I once again check for duplicates. Okay, and when I do it now you see that I have a very unique, there is no duplicate. If you compare it to the initial situation, you see that we're having only 454 without duplicate. Okay, in other words, the copies were only one. It means that they appeared once in the data set. The rest, this number were appearing two and that order, so they were duplicates. But after converting, and like I said, this doesn't mean that there's something wrong with the data. What this was telling us is that the data set we're having at that moment was at the individual level. But I am interested as a data manager or a data analyst to send the data set from the individual level to the household level. And I achieved that by collapsing the data set using the command collapse. And remember, I said the sum here implies that I was actually interested in the total amount of input used by each household and not the average. If it were to be the average, I would have used the mean. Okay, so now that we have this, I'm gonna also combine it to this variable, the key variables. So first of all, I have combined these two data sets by appending, and it was at the individual level, so I have switched it from individual level to the household level by collapsing the input value variable. And now I'm gonna combine the data set we have now with the key variable data set. Okay, and that is going to be done by adding variables, not observations. And so in data management or in data analysis, we merge by adding or putting variables in different data sets together, okay, to form one complete data set. So the difference between merging and appending is that in merging, the purpose is to put variables together or add a variable or some number of variables, to other variables already existing in some data sets. Now in appending, we do with the purpose of putting observations together. Okay, so in merging, there are 3 or 4 conditions at which we do merging, and each and every one of them will tell you the sort of mapping, because here we use a mapping technique, the sort of mapping you are supposed to use. If we happen to have a data set where we have unique IDs like what I have here, it means that I have 1, and my using data set, which is the key variables that I'm going to use, should I also have uniqueness in IDs over there, then it means that I'm going to use what is called one-to-one, but I will explain in the latter part of the video. Okay, so over here you can see that I have my data set to be unique over here. So here is going to be one-to-one. If you come to this folder, this key variable is already at the household level. So what this one implies is that here the unique ID is also unique. There's no duplicate. Okay, so here it is going to be one-to-one kind of mapping or matching. And so to do that, again, just like I explained under append, we have master dataset, which is the one I am already having, and the using dataset is the key variables dataset that I'm going to use to merge with this one. And so I achieved the merging technique by first of all issuing the command merge, then 1 to 1. Remember, I said I'm using 1 to 1 because here I have the unique IDs to be uniquely identified, and in the using data set to the same thing, the unique IDs are unique over there, and therefore I say 1 to 1. Should it happen that I'm working at the individual level, just as we were having in the data set where we're having this number of observation before I collapsed, we're having this. So over here the data set was at the individual level, and I'm merging it with the data set, which is the key variable data set, which is at the household level. So over there it means that the unique IDs are unique in nature, but over here they will not be unique, just as you saw when I did the duplicate. Then the merging technique would have been many to 1, because here I'm having many observation. In other words, there is no uniqueness, and so it's going to be many to 1. The reverse would have been 1 to many. Okay, the reverse would be that at the using variable I have the IDs not to be unique. In other words, the data set is at the individual level, and therefore to merge them it would have been 1 to many, because I'm having uniqueness in the master data set and then I don't have uniqueness in the using data set, so it would have been 1 to many. Situation whereby there is no unique ID in both data set, I mean the master data set and the using data set, then we use many to many. But with that one you have to be very, very careful, because it's always tricky. If you don't take care, you will encounter a problem of what we call data shifts, a situation whereby one observation's information is given to another and vice versa. Okay, so these are the types of merging that we have in as far as data management is concerned. We have 1 to 1 merging, we have 1 to many, many to 1, and many to many. I will later take you there and you will see what I'm trying to say at this moment. So here I say merge 1 to 1 using, okay, then once again I'm lucky the data set key variables is also in the same folder as the zone A and then the zone B data set. So I bring it here. Yes, I forgot to bring something here, UID. So another difference between append and merging is that in the append we don't make use of unique ID or household IDs. Over here, as far as merging is concerned, we use ID, okay, because we are merging on ID. We are combining the data set on ID. Over there we are just putting observations together, so we really don't care or don't place premium or importance on household ID. But over here ID is very, very important. Depending on how you want to achieve it, it tells you the type of merging that you are supposed to choose. Okay, so here I say merge 1 to 1 on household ID using this particular data, but I have to change this one.
And in Stata, you have to be very careful with the spelling, because Stata is case sensitive and then spelling sensitive. Okay, if I say case sensitive, if it is uppercase, you have to be careful to make sure that you use the uppercase. If it is lowercase, you go by that. And your spelling must also be on point. So just to be sure, I'm going to go back to my folder and just be sure. So this is key variables, okay, with underscore new, and with the key having starting with big K, variable starting with big V, new starting with big N, and that order. So I come here and then I type key variables underscore new. Okay, I guess I have it right. Should it happen that I have made mistake in typing the variable name here, it's not gonna work. Stata will notify me by giving me an error message. But I think I have it rightly typed. So again, I put it in quotation mark. So Stata, I'm trying to tell Stata that this is the path you can follow to actually pick up this particular data file. And so I press my enter key. Okay, successful. So you can see that our variables have now increased, okay, by adding region, treatment, head age, household size, head marital status, head religion, head education, head female, and then household expenditure and poverty status and all that. Okay, so this is what we have. So all these variables, as you see here, all these variables have been now added to the data sets we're having initially, or the variables we're having initially. Initially, we're having the variable UID and then the input val. Now, after merging, these variables have now been added. So that is why I said in data management or in data analysis, we merge with the purpose of putting variables together. Okay, variables in different data files or data sets into one data set. Okay, whilst in appending, we do that with the purpose of putting observations together, just as you saw the results. Okay, a critical look at the result we have here. This is telling me that there is this number of households, okay, 353 households that can be found in the key variable data set. That is the using data set. Remember, I said the using is a key variable data set. So these cases or observations are located in the key variable data set. However, they are not found in the master data set, which is the one we're having, okay, after appending and collapsing. So what it implies is that these number of households do not have their match in both data sets. So they were sorted out, okay, and that is why we are seeing this one over here. The 0 here implies that all the households that we were having in our master data set had their counterpart or their match in the using data set, which is the key variables data set. Okay, so that is what it means. And so you will see that all the households or observations we're having are within this particular number of households that were successfully matched or merged. Okay, now because these households or cases or observations did not have their match or their counterpart in the master data set, they were not matched. Okay, so they were sorted out by Stata. And so if I tab, and whenever you do merging or you perform merging activity in Stata automatically generates a variable, okay, underscore merge. So if I tab it, okay, if I tabulate the variable underscore merge, you see that I have the same number here, just as I was explaining. Okay, so this is using only. It means that they were found only in the using data set, which is the key variable data set. However, they were not found in the master data set. So they say, so Stata is telling you that this or these number of households were actually located only in the using data file. Okay, and I told that the using data file is the key variables, data file or data set. Okay, when it happens like that, there are several reasons. Okay, the first is that it can be a problem that perhaps in your construction of the using data file, you mistakenly perform the activity in such a way that these number of households or observations were thrown out, and therefore when you came and you wanted to merge it with the master data file, you have been exposed. Okay, but I don't see it as a problem. Reason being that as far as the data I'm using for this tutorial is concerned, not everyone bought input, okay, for their production activities. Okay, so there was a question that was asking the respondents as to whether they bought some additional amount of input, okay, to support what they were given during their production process. If your response is yes, then you go ahead and then respond questions on the amount or the total value you actually bought or employed in addition to what the project gave you. Should it also happen that your response is no, you didn't buy any other input in addition to what you were given, then it means that you are not going to respond to questions on the amount of input, extra input you bought, and therefore you will not be in the master data set. So in my understanding, this number of observations answered no to the question, did you buy extra input to augment what you were given by the project? They responded no, and therefore they did not go ahead. They were skipped, or they were not made to answer questions on total value of extra input they bought. And so that is how come you see them thrown out here. So over here we can comfortably drop that, because we are interested, the analysis we are doing here makes us have an interest in only those who bought extra quantity of input in addition to what the project actually provided them. Okay, so this is actually not a problem, but like I said, in some cases it can be a problem. So as a data manager or a data analyst, you need to really understand the project you are working with better. You need to have a fair understanding of the questionnaire so that you can actually place this particular scenario in the right perspective. Okay, so that is what we have. And therefore, if we go to the spreadsheet where we can see all the variables, you can see that beautifully we have this particular, data set containing all these variables. Okay, let me quickly move on to how you can convert a continuous variable to a categorical variable. And I'm going to use this variable called household head age, or the age of the household head. Okay, and at the moment it is continuous because it is 40 years, 36 years, 43, 41, 29, and that order. Okay, so it's continuous just like that, but I want to put them in age groups. Okay, I want to put them in age groups or intervals, and so to achieve that I use a technique called recoding in data management as far as the use of Stata is concerned. And so I'm going to do that by quickly going back to the main screen, and then at the command prompt I type recode, then I choose the variable name. Okay, or better still, first of all, let me do something here first. Let me first of all compute summary statistics for this particular variable, and then I see how it is distributed across the sample. And so here, this is what I have. Okay, this is the total number of observation. Okay, and this is the average, age across board. And over here I have standard deviation. Okay, and here this is the minimum and maximum. As far as what I'm going to do is concerned, I'm interested in this one. Okay, the minimum age is this, and then the maximum is that. Okay, the minimum age is 15 and the maximum is 110. So to put them in categories, there are two ways. You can do it in such a way that at the end of the day the original variable will disappear, okay, or will be replaced by the new one. Or you can do it in such a way that you can have the new one in addition to the old one, all in the data set. Okay, I am interested in the latter because as a data analyst you don't have to be throwing away variables just like that. You don't know when you may have to fall back on that old one, and therefore I prefer keeping them. And so to do that I use the recode. So to do the recoding, this is the command line, recode, then I choose the variable name. Okay, Then I come here, I say, okay, from minimum age to 20. Okay, here depends on the groups, how you want to group them. Okay, there's no fast rule about that, so you have to know that. I say let that be 1, and then it's labeled as 20 years, 20 years and below. Okay, then I come here and I say from 21 to 30. So this at this stage, this / stands for 2. Okay, instead of me to type 21, 22, 23 up to 30, I just say from 21 to 30. Okay, let them be coded as or assigned to 2, the group 2 or the category 2. Then I label them as what? 21 to 30 years. Okay, then I close that as well. Then I have 31. Okay, 31 to 40. Let them be assigned to the 3rd category and then be labeled as what? 31 to 40 years. Okay, then if I looking at this, I may go on and on, but I want to have 1, 2, 3 and 4 categories. So I say from 41 to the maximum or the highest age, let all of them be 4. Okay, and be assigned 41 years and above. Okay, then I close this one. When I finish this particular line, what I need to do is to give a name to the new variable that will come out of this whole process. And so I do that by saying generate. Okay, then I assign a name. The name must be different from that of the old one, otherwise Stata will not respond. It will give you an error message. And so I give a name, for instance, by small h but big E and then age. Okay, you see that's very close to the old one, but I've just done a slight modification just to give Stata some variety or some difference. Okay, so here instead of using small a as it is in the old variable name, I'm using big A just to differentiate them. And then after that, I press my enter key. Straight up, it is done. So you can see that I have, you see, this is the number of observation here. So you see 2,401 differences between this and that. That is changes. This number of changes has occurred between this and that. Okay. So this is the variable here. As you can see, this is the variable here. I can actually tabulate it and you will see it nicely here. Okay. So this is how we have. So it is telling me that households, you know, with the head to be 20 years and below, we have 24 of them, and then household with the age of the household lying between 21 to 30, we have this number of them and they constitute this percentage. So that is what we are seeing here. I can move this one to be closer to this one so that when we go to the spreadsheet we can have a quick look at it, and I do that by typing the command order small h big EH. Okay, then I say after this one, or the after you can shorten it by saying A, but remember the A stands for after. Then I say the old name. So what I'm trying to say is that Stata should move the variable, the new variable from here and place it between this and that is coming after this one. And so when I finish, I press my enter key. You can see that it's no longer here, it has come here. Now let's go to the spreadsheet and we'll see what is there. So you see that it is here. So this is what we actually did. So that is how you do recoding in Stata, or that is how you convert a continuous variable to a categorical variable in Stata. Okay, before I leave, let me quickly take you to some help window just for you to have a fair idea of all the commands I've taken you through today in this particular tutorial. I begin by typing help append, okay, because append is what we did first. So when you come here, you see append using. Remember, where it is underlined, it means that you could have used the abbreviation. I typed the full name append. I could have used AP, and Stata also recognize that I'm referring to append using then the file name, just as we did, with some options. Some of the options are here. Okay, you can just explore and play around them, and I believe you can do very wonderful things with them in your data management activities. Okay, now let me go back and then also issue calling the help file for merge. So I type help merge. Okay, then I press enter. So this is what I was telling you. You say we have one-to-one merge on specified key variables. So here one-to-one means that your master data set is uniquely identified, and then your using data set is also having a unique ID, and so that's why you can say one-to-one. But a situation whereby your master data set is not unique, in other words, it is at the individual level. Okay, so it means that one ID is repeated several times. It means it is many, and then your using data set is uniquely identified or has a unique ID. In other words, it is at the individual level. Therefore, each ID appears only once. Then you have many to one. Okay, the reverse would have been one to many. Okay, and then a situation, this is why I said it's a bit tricky. You have to be very careful to avoid what we call in data management as data shifts. So here you can see that we have many to many, where your master data set is not unique in terms of ID. In other words, the data set is at the individual level. So one ID appears several times, 2, 3, or whatever. And the same also in your using data set, then you use many to many, okay, to do the merging. So merging can be done at 4 different situations. The first is when you have absolute uniqueness in both data sets. The second and third is a situation whereby you have absolute uniqueness in one of the data sets, and in the other you don't have absolute uniqueness. Then you use one to many or many to one, whichever way you want to go as a data manager or analyst. Then over here you can see that you don't have absolute uniqueness in any of the data sets, and therefore you go by many to many. Okay, again over here there are also several options you can play around, okay, in your practice, and you can do very magical stuff with them as far as your data management and analysis abilities are concerned. Okay, this one tells you that you can also use the point and click to do that by going to data. If you come here, okay, and you click data, you will see that you see something called combined, okay, combined data set, and you see you have merged 2 data sets here. Append is also here, and you can do several things with that. Okay, so detailed descriptions are given here. You can take a look at them and explore them so that you can be very effective in your ability to apply these commands. The next one I'm going to show you is the collapse. So we help collapse. Okay, so collapse, like I said, helps you actually reduce the size of the data set as far as the number of observations are concerned. Okay, and you can do that by doing the sum, which I used, okay, which gives me the total quantity or value of input used by each household, as in the case of my demonstration to you today. And I also said that assuming I was interested in the average, which is even the default as far as the software is concerned, then I would have used the mean. Okay, you can also do the median, you can do the percentile. Several computations can be done, okay, as far as collapse is concerned. Once again, you can explore this as well, and then you can do a lot of unique and interesting stuff with them or with it as far as your analytical and managerial abilities are concerned. Okay, last but not the least is the help for recode. Okay, we have some rules you need to follow. These are the rules. Okay, if you take your time to explore, you also get to know more about this particular command. These are the options, and this is where you can locate it if you want to use the mouse to control it or to perform it without using command. Okay, and the rest. All right, thank you for stepping by. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel Class dismiss.